How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to All East TV. And this is your Tottenham pre-match, quite late filmed video. Apologies for that, guys. It has just been a quick turnaround in games. It's quite difficult to keep up, to be totally honest with you. But we wanted to get a Tottenham pre-match out. So, yeah, it can only get better, surely. Surely it can only get better. That's me trying to be positive. But yeah, look, there's no other ways of putting this. This is an incredibly tough game for us. For me, the worrying thing is we've not had a lot of time since the Liverpool game. 2 days, 2 full days in between. Have we had enough time really to work on the training ground to rectify the problems from the Liverpool game? Probably not, in all honesty, I think, because let's be honest, there was a lot of problems in that Liverpool game. But as long as we can make ourselves more competitive in this game, I'll be happy. And I think we'll have a much better chance of getting something because Tottenham are simply not as good a team as Liverpool. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, but we've just got to help ourselves as much as we can. I didn't feel at Anfield we did enough of that. I just thought we were stretched throughout the game. We couldn't really impose ourselves on the game in any kind of sense, and it was just a really, really tough one for us. And look, we've got to adapt now. We've got to really learn the lessons from the last couple of games, the last couple of weeks, that, we have got a major problem defensively. 56 goals conceded. We conceded twice as many goals as Burnley. And that's a real concern because Burnley, at the minute, are the form team in that bottom six. And they're the team that we're looking at this moment in time in terms of they're picking up results. And they've got a winnable game tomorrow at Palace. Or certainly a game that they'll be looking to get a result from. Again, I made a couple of notes here on the game. I think I was just reading through the comments on the Liverpool video, and I think I've seen a lot of comments saying that I was very pro Bielsa in terms of what I was saying. I mean, that wasn't really what I was trying to say necessarily. I think there's no doubt mistakes were made in the Liverpool game. Mistakes have been made in recent weeks, but the point was, again, the Liverpool game, I still felt the players were more to blame. I still think the players made a lot of basic mistakes. I look at four out of the 6 goals, I'd say, are down to errors from individuals, poor errors from individuals. I think certainly the 4th or 5th goal I'm looking at, I'm thinking that's totally avoidable. It's a ridiculous goal to concede, in all honesty, and it's ones that you just can't afford to make them mistakes in the Premier League because you will be punished. But the thing I did say in that Liverpool game was I think I hammered home the point about Phillips, Bamford, Cooper, and you don't need me to talk about those 3 players. It's not an excuse, that, by the way, having those 3 players missing. It's a reason. It's not an excuse. We can still need to find a way to adapt because at the end of the day, those players might not come back. They might not be fully fit. Bamford might come back in. He might pick up an injury in the same game that he's back in. Phillips the same. Cooper the same. We can't be too reliant on that for me, those 3 players coming back. We've got to find the solutions from within the current pool of players we've got available and hope, as a bonus, that one of these players comes back in, 2 or 3, or all of them come back in. That's, for me, is the thing now, because obviously Phillips has had a very injury-hit season. Bamford's had a very injury-hit season. Cooper has as well. Even if they do come back, is there any guarantee they play the next 10 games or so? No, there's no guarantee with any players will play 10 games or so. So we've got to find a solution from what we've got at this moment in time. And just trying to rectify the problems that have been clear for the last couple of weeks. And as I say, a lot of people are saying it's just down to tactics. It's not just down to tactics at all. Players are making individual mistakes. If players are dropping deep, or pushing too high, and there's massive space in the middle of the pitch, the players have got to take responsibility for that, for me, as much as the managers. They've got to see that situation developing. And then I think, obviously, in the press conference as well, today's press conference about style of play, that was a big, big talking point to style of play. Bielsa's words were again, I can't directly remember the quote, but basically summing up that we need to keep to the style of play, and if we move away from this style of play, we will be in trouble. My problem with this whole style of play debate is that it feels like we've either got to be Bielsa's Leeds, or we've got to adapt and be like Sean Dyche's Burnley in a direct long ball team. For me, it doesn't have to be an either or. it's small little adaptations we need to make as a team. Whether that's not allowing their fullbacks to push as high against the top quality wingers, pressing more as a unit, whatever way you want to put it. It doesn't necessarily mean that style of play we need to turn into Sean Dyche's Burnley all of a sudden. That's the big thing for me. And it doesn't have to be either or. That's what I'm saying. We don't have to suddenly become a direct team that sits back for 90 minutes and just hopes the opposition doesn't score and keeps things tight at the back and all this lot. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. Because look, last season we finished 9th playing this style of football. Yes, we had the 3 players I just mentioned available, but we still finished 9th within playing this style of football. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an either or. That's my whole problem with this style of play debate, that we have to totally rip off everything we've done for the last 3.5 years under Marcelo Bielsa and become a totally different team. We don't have to do that necessarily. And I really don't think this team suits playing a long ball style of play and sitting back for 90 minutes. Because, look, people are saying we need to drop back and sit back and just allow the opposition to have the ball for 90 minutes when we're playing a Tottenham like tomorrow. That's a very difficult thing to do when you haven't got your captain on the pitch, or your best holding midfielder, or your best midfielder. You still need these players to play that style of football as well, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm making sense here, but it's not necessarily a linear thing, this we're talking about. It doesn't mean that if we suddenly become a team that sits back like Burnley and tries to play a similar style of football to Burnley, that we're going to suddenly win a load of games 1-0. It doesn't necessarily translate to that way. We don't have a 𝐏𝐇𝐎𝐍𝐾 up top that you can just ping balls into, who's 6'7" and wins everything in the air. We don't have that at this moment in time. I don't think any of our players suit a long ball style of play. It doesn't have to be that way. Adapting and changing are 2 very different things. Changing has been some of the suggestions I've seen on Twitter, across the media in recent weeks. Adapting is what we need to do for me. There's things like man-to-man marking or zonal marking. I don't even necessarily think we need to go to zonal marking. I think a lot of what we do man-to-man is good, to be totally honest with you. When we're pressing teams, it's very difficult to play out against us. Where I think the man-to-man marking is having problems is when we're trying to defend. Because obviously, we always have the spare centre-back. That's the idea of the whole style of play. But when you have a late run into the box, like Joel Matip's second goal for Liverpool, that's where the man-to-man marking falls down. That's where it's had problems in recent weeks. That's another thing I'm going to say. Maybe we can man-to-man mark when we're high up the pitch and then drop off a little bit when the opposition's over the halfway line. All these different kind of things. We don't have to totally change, is my point here. This is the theme I'm trying to say. We don't have to totally change what we do. It's small, little adaptations for me. And we've done it before under Bielsa. We've got to remember this. We've done it before under Marcelo Bielsa. Last season, in the second part of the season, we went to Leicester and won 3-1 and played purely on the counter-attack. We went to Man City, won 2-1. Yes, we were forced to do that because we went down to 10 men, but went purely on the counter-attack, had 2 shots, conceded like 80% possession. We had Man United at home last season, we drew 0-0, Chelsea 0-0, Liverpool 1-1, all quite low-key, not what you typically associate with Marcelo Bielsa type of games. Very low-key games, quite boring games in a way. But we got results from those games. Now, people will say, why don't we do this now? Why don't we do this now? There's definitely an argument for that. Could we start from tomorrow playing that way? Again, for me, this is just my personal opinion. I think the reason we don't do that at this moment in time is because Calvin Phillips isn't available, Liam Cooper isn't available. If we look to just drop back and concede like 70-80% of the ball, you're then very reliant on your defenders, your midfielders to keep things tight. When you haven't got your leader at the back available, you haven't got your best midfielder available, it's easier said than done. So for me, it's about finding that midway point between what we're doing right now and what we did last season. That's what I think is the case at this moment in time. And I think we tried to do that against Man United. With the way we set up, Koch in midfield, Forshaw and Glick ahead of him, quite a defensive-minded midfield. It wouldn't surprise me if we do that tomorrow. Robin Koch is back available. Maybe we might go with that same midfield and try and play a little bit more on the counter, because that's what we did for the first 30 minutes against Man United. Albeit, they get a goal from a set piece, they then get a second as we have to open up. It didn't work against Man United. We didn't really try it against Liverpool. So it's about trying to find that halfway point. Tottenham tomorrow, from what I've seen of Tottenham, will try and sit back a little bit. I don't think they'll press as high as what Liverpool and Man United did. So we'll have more time on the ball, which I think is definitely to our advantage. You know, the likes of Rafinha won't have the fullback right up against them. They'll have more time to make decisions. Adam Forshaw will have more time to pull the strings in midfield. But again, this is a very, very difficult game tomorrow. You've got Kane and Son up top. Superb players. Absolutely superb players. 𝐘𝐒𝐍𝑒, who's obviously had a real good start at Tottenham. Bentancur, who I think might actually be unavailable in this game, but there's good players in that Tottenham team. You know, Reguilon as well at left back, left wing back. Antonio Conte is a top manager in his own right. First half of that game in November, we were dominant, to be totally honest with you. And I don't think Rafinha didn't play that game. There's no way I don't think Rafinha played. Rafinha didn't play that game. If Rafinha had been on that pitch in that game back in November, there's a good chance we'd have got something because of how dominant we were in that first half. It was all one-way traffic, really. Tottenham in the second half, and it kind of sums up our season, pressed high in that second half, and we didn't have an answer to it. We didn't have an answer to it on that day. Tottenham might look to do that tomorrow. Who knows? It's all over the place at this moment in time, this Premier League season. You know, Tottenham have just gone to Man City and won, and then got beat by Burnley 3 days later. Tottenham have got a lot of talent in that team, but Tottenham up against a fierce, hungry Ellen Road crowd tomorrow. You know what? We desperately need something from this game tomorrow. If we start the game well, Tottenham has shown before that they're quite weak. You know, Tottenham historically, you know, when things go against them, have not been great for a while. Certainly since Mauricio Pochettino left. And Antonio Conte so far hasn't been able to solve that. If we can start that game well, first 20 minutes on top, keeping the ball, creating chances, Tottenham could start to panic. Again, it's difficult to say this Leeds team. You know, it's very, very difficult to say this Leeds team. I think in recent weeks, it's been difficult. And we have struggled against high-pressing teams. Everton pressed us high, Man United pressed us high, Liverpool pressed us high. Will Tottenham try and do the same thing? Who knows? I'm hoping they don't, to be totally honest with you. I'm hoping they do try and sit off us and give us some time on the ball. I think we can punish Tottenham. I think we're more than capable of breaking teams down. I really do. As I've said in previous videos, scoring goals has not been a problem for Leeds this season. We're still mid-table for goals scored this season without someone who got 25 goals last season. Well, 17 goals, 8 assists, contributed to 25 goals last season. You know, with maybe Jack Harrison, Dan James, not on top form so far this season. Scoring goals is still not a problem for Leeds. I only see that improving when we get players back available. I only see that improving. Again, you can say other parts of our game we've got to desperately improve, but goal scoring is still one of our strengths. So I still feel we should play to our strengths, which is trying to score goals. Now, that doesn't mean I'm happy for us to carry on doing what we're doing. You know, in terms of just man-to-man marking and, you know, obviously leaving a lot of spaces in the middle of the pitch and teams creating chances at will against us. I really don't want that to carry on. But I don't necessarily think we have to completely park the bus, if that makes sense. That's just my feeling on it. It's a confusing time to be a Leeds fan at this moment in time. You know, Marcelo Bielsa, for 3 years, things have been absolutely fantastic. This year has been more difficult. For me, I'm still absolutely fully behind Marcelo Bielsa. Absolutely fully behind him because, yes, things aren't going well right now. But a little over a month ago, we went to West Ham and won the game. Playing the way we play. Again, with little adaptations, to be fair. You know, little adaptations. The fullbacks didn't push as high up the pitch that day. You know, obviously we had a double pivot, I think, of Robin Koch and 𝐾𝐈𝐶. You know, we were different that day. That was a little over a month ago. A month ago, we won that game. We'd just beaten Burnley a couple of weeks before, and people were talking about the top 10. You know you were. People in the comments will be saying I never spoke about top 10. There'll be some people in those comments against Liverpool who spoke about top 10. I spoke about top 10 because of how well we played against West Ham. Things can change very quickly in this Premier League, but we've got to adapt a little bit for me. There's got to be little adaptations. Robin Koch coming back in tomorrow is a massive help. I think Robin Koch is our most natural holding midfielder after Calvin Phillips. That is a massive help. I think Robin Koch staying on that pitch against Man United, we don't concede 4 goals. Against Liverpool, we'd make it more competitive. I'm not saying it would have been the difference and we would have suddenly beaten both teams. I'm not saying that, but we certainly would have been more competitive with Robin Koch in the team. Diego Llorente's had a bit of a rest out of the team, which can only be a good thing for me. It can only be a good thing. He's back available as well. So, yeah. Look, the other thing I have to say about Marcelo Bielsa is that there's a lot of talk about next season with Marcelo Bielsa and all this, that, and I don't like any of that. I really don't like that, to be totally honest with you, because I've got unbelievable respect for Marcelo Bielsa. That's for starters. I just don't see why we're talking about that. And secondly, we don't know where we'll be next season. We don't know what the situation will be. We're still in the middle. It's not like we're mid-table at this moment in time. There's still a lot of football to play for. There's still a lot on this line at this moment in time. You know, we can't take anything for granted at this moment in time in terms of where we'll be in the summer. So I just don't understand why there's so much talk about the summer. I think let's just get through these next 13 or so games, make sure we stay up, and we do enough to stay up. That's the main thing. The focus is now. I think it'd be daft for us to look too far into the future, because right now in these 13 games, everything's on the line. There's no doubt about it. Everything's on the line. And tomorrow, for me, I've spoken about style of play. The big thing I want to see tomorrow is that we're stacked in midfield. Robin Koch, Adam Forshaw, and then one of Matthäus Glick or Stuart Dallas are in midfield, and we're powerful and we're overpowering Tottenham. The midfield is backing up the press, because it's all well and good me talking about style of play and tactics and all this lot. The bottom line is, I don't really care what tactics we play. I don't really care what tactics we play. Whatever we decide to do, we've got to do it as a team. If we're deciding to be a high pressing team, we have to press high as a team. If we decide to drop off, we drop off as a team. It has to be as a team, all working together. So there's no spaces. We're all working as a team. That's what it's got to be. It doesn't matter what style of play. We have to work as a team. No matter what Marcelo's been working on, it has to work as a team. Everyone has to be absolutely on it, pressing high, no dropping off. Whatever they're told to do, we have to do it as a team tomorrow for me. No doubt about it. But yeah, I've been rambling a little bit. But the key for me is stopping Kane and Son. But it's easier said than done. And I think Robin Koch, last time we played Tottenham at Ellen Road, Robin Koch had a superb game against Harry Kane. Absolutely superb game against Harry Kane. We need more of the same again. And I think, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've rambled a little bit on this one, but that is my pre-match preview for the Tottenham game. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you later, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already, and we will see you later, guys. See you later.